The new Breath of the Wild, or the sequel to it, is not necessarily going to be related to Majora's Mask or inspired by it. What we showed you currently is a little darker. That is what I like to call a bold claim, but an exciting one nonetheless. Back when Breath of the Wild 2 was first announced last year, one of the most popular quotes coming out of interviews with director Hiromajo Fujibayashi and producer Eiji Aonuma was this very statement. It's not necessarily going to be related to Majora's Mask or inspired by it. What we showed you currently is a little darker. Now, riddle me this. A world on the brink of destruction with 3 days left till the literal end of the world. You experience and feel the dread of the inevitable impact not only through your own eyes, but through the characters around you as well. And finally, the journey you yourself embark on to save the world is a manifestation of the 5 stages of grief. Majora's Mask is a very dark game. And while the trailer for Breath of the Wild 2 shows us a foreboding look at where the future of Hyrule might lead us in this next Zelda game, can it really top the raw feeling Majora's Mask is able to evoke? Well, I don't doubt the Zelda team's words, but I do think Breath of the Wild 2 will set the tone in a very different way than Majora was able to accomplish. Majora's Mask feeds off emotion to subtly create a world with unsettling consequences. And while Breath of the Wild 2 could attempt to capture a darker tone through the same strategy, I don't think it could ever outshine Majora's Mask by trying to go the same route as it. I often think of Majora myself as the miracle game of the Zelda series. A game so intricately crafted, and crafted in so little time, that the fact it exists in of itself is a miracle. And based on this Majora's Mask 3D Wada Asks interview with Aonuma in 2015, I think the developers themselves might agree. Well, when I was first told by Mr. Miyamoto, all I could say was, "You're absolutely right." An added benefit of releasing it on Nintendo 3DS was that if you get stuck somewhere in the game, you could just close the lid and put it in sleep mode. So it was all the more reason to work on Majora's Mask. However, I couldn't simply say, "Yes, I'll do it." Now why is that? I said this before, but it was one of those games where I was able to do quite a bit because I was much younger. Right. So I didn't want to open that lid again. What do you mean you didn't want to open the lid? I knew that as soon as I opened it, I would break out into a cold sweat. In Aonuma's quote from E3 2019, he says, "It's not necessarily going to be related to Majora's Mask or inspired by it, and that's because this game will not feed off your emotions in the same way. It will tackle them." Look at Breath of the Wild 2's trailer and tell me what emotion you feel it's trying to convey the most. It's not a silent and subdued dread like Majora. It's in your face, unnerving, and question-raising. If I were to name one driving emotion in this trailer, it would be fear. Breath of the Wild 2's trailer gives off the impression that unlike Majora, its actions will speak louder than its words. I mean, the trailer plays out almost like a horror game. And as of right now, as far as I'm concerned, I believe that's very intentional. Topping the tone of Majora's Mask is a tall order, but it's not an impossible one. So what kind of events can we expect to see unfold in this new game, and how can it cement itself as darker than Majora's Mask? Let's start by looking at Link. In Majora, his journey, as I said earlier, resembles the 5 stages of grief. Clocktown, denial, Woodfall, anger, Snowhead, bargaining, Great Bay, depression, and Akana Valley, acceptance. Throughout these locations, you experience each stage of grief, making for an emotional journey that helps Link, and by extension yourself, come to terms with the world of Termina. It's a brilliant and methodical journey, but how can Breath of the Wild 2 top it? Well, it could eliminate the journey altogether. Theories have spread around the sequel for quite a while now, bringing up the possibility of the protagonist of the Zelda series, Link, dying in Breath of the Wild 2. And while I don't think the game will be willing to go quite that far, I do think it's a possibility that Link might not be venturing across Hyrule this time around, instead serving as a supporting antagonist, while under the control of this hand. Flipping Link's journey on its head is one thing, but what about the world of Termina? To this day, Termina is the most alive a Zelda world has ever felt to me. and that means watching it slowly fall apart is all the more terrifying. How can Breath of the Wild 2 possibly top the world of Termina's mood? The end constantly looking you in the eye, characters around you that you've spent the entire game helping, all that work undone to keep escaping this terrible fate. Well, there might not be a moon waiting for impact looming over the land, but there is a good chance there will be a castle. In Breath of the Wild 2, I don't think we'll have a world-ending threat constantly driving the game to worry about, but defending the world from an evil conquest to claim Hyrule once and for all does sound about right. Majora was a villain that desired nothing more than destruction, but Ganondorf in Breath of the Wild 2, if anything similar to his past appearances, doesn't desire complete destruction, but power. A world ruled by him. Take your pick as to which is a more terrible fate. Finally, I want to bring up one more point that might prove instrumental in how Breath of the Wild 2 could potentially outclass Majora's Mask of the title, the darkest Zelda game. We've seen creepy and unsettling things make their way into Zelda games time and time again. It's part of the series' very identity, but rarely is it that these elements are so heavily highlighted. This is what the Zelda team decided to show as a first impression. A series of cryptic shots leading to the bottom of a cave, with a corpse held in place by a mysterious hand, by the end of which we see a close-up of this corpse, its neck snaps back as it reanimates. We don't know a lot of concrete details about Breath of the Wild 2 yet, but if this trailer is reflective of the rest of the project, the stage is more than set for a Zelda game that's not afraid to tackle darker themes, as well as tell a more mature story. Breath of the Wild 2 won't be a sequel to Majora's Mask. It won't go about telling its story and setting its tone in the same way. However, I believe it will attempt to surprise and bring out emotions in players in brand new ways, hopefully finding its own path to live up to these words. What we showed you currently is a little darker. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more and never miss when the new videos come out. If you liked the video, give it a like and comment down below, do you think Breath of the Wild 2 will be able to outmatch Majora's Mask as the darkest Zelda game? Well, do you? Thanks again for watching, everybody, and I will see you soon again with another video. Have a good one. Bye.